Hey friends, welcome to There and to Back again. I'm Logan. Thanks for visiting me today. Today we're continuing the discussion about blending tobaccos, and we're going to move into the condimental tobaccos. Now, what is a condimental tobacco? Condimental tobacco is that tobacco that you might use in smaller amounts in your blends to achieve specific flavors. Now, those condiments are and there's many that you can use, but the main players that you'll find in your pipe tobacco blends are Perique, Latakia, Dark Fired Kentucky, and you might find Cigar Leaf. There's really any, you could even use base tobaccos like Bright Virginia as a condiment or a Matured Virginia as a condiment. There's a number of them like Orientals, and they add a very specific flavor. Now, the one that we're talking about today is kind of, in my opinion, one of the more unusual condiment tobaccos, or rather, I should say, misunderstood, and that is Dark Fired Kentucky. Dark Fired Kentucky is, next to Burley, probably the most consumed tobacco in the U.S., but not as pipe tobacco. It is the primary component in chewing tobacco. And it's strange because it has characteristics of all the three base tobaccos, or rather, I should say, not base tobaccos. I should say it has characteristics of Virginia, it has characteristics of Burley, and it has characteristics of Latakia, in that it is sweet like Virginia, it's kind of earthy like Burley, and it's smoky like Latakia. So blending with it really takes a very delicate hand when you go into it. This is a twist that I got from a small farm that grows and sells these on Etsy, and they sell them for decoration. But I was able to come by this and at a pretty good price, and the smell is just amazing. It is smoky, it's sweet. It smells almost like smoked sausage. Kind of looks like it too. But it's really wonderful. The moisture is really nice on this, and I'll probably do another video where I jump into this and try and smoke a little bit of it. If you were to buy it from an online store or wherever you get your blending tobaccos, you'd probably get it in a processed format, something like this. And this is really what it kind of looks like when it arrives. A very similar smell to what I just told you. It's very sweet, it's very earthy, it's very smoky. It on its own, it smells like chewing tobacco, and it has this very dark burnt caramel reddish color to it, and it really is unique in the condiment tobaccos. And the reason I say that it's misunderstood is because it has so many characteristics, it's hard to separate those flavors out in blends. And so you have what you'll find in blending in tobacco blends is that for the sweetness they'll use Virginias, for the earthiness they'll use Burleys, for the smokiness they'll use Latakia. And it's easier to get the right percentage of those three flavors, as opposed to having them all in one tobacco, because you can't separate those flavors out. So what I've found is that to use Dark Fired Kentucky really successfully in a blend, you want to add it to very simple blends where you're only using 2, maybe 3 components. Like in St. Bruno, the best-selling tobacco in the UK, they use Virginia and a small amount of Dark Fired Kentucky because the sweetness enhances the sweetness of the Virginia. And if you were to add it to barley, it would enhance and maybe even sweeten up that barley. Now, for nicotine content, it is the highest of all of them. It's higher than Perique. And if you smoke straight dark-fired Kentucky, you will get a really heavy buzz. So you want to be careful when you're blending it with barley specifically, because barley is high in content. Perique is high in content. Dark-fired Kentucky is the highest that you would use. So my recommendation, if you're to jump into trying to blend with dark-fired Kentucky, is to start at no more than 10%. Actually, I would start at about 1 or 2%, and the most I would do would be 10% in any blend, unless you want something that's just basically like smoking straight Kentucky, in which case that's fine too. I mean, you blend however you want, but as soon as you go over that 10% mark with Kentucky, it becomes a Kentucky blend, and that's what you taste primarily. So if you want to use it as a condiment tobacco, keep it under 10% in your blends, and start small, because it will overtake the whole blend very quickly. It enhances the sweetness of Virginias. It enhances the earthiness of Burleys. It can be used in place of Latakia. But it's kind of a different type of smoke. The way that Latakia is created is that Latakia is a oriental tobacco that is basically hung up in a barn and smoked for months over peat moss smoke. Kentucky, the process is different. They call it dark-fired Kentucky, but it's not really over an open flame. It's not an oriental. It's more like a burley leaf. It's a very dark leaf that is sort of a cousin to burley. In fact, some places I've read, they call it a burley. So I think it's actually in the burley family. They take they cut the stalks, they let it wilt in the field for about 4 days. And then they hang it up upside down in a barn. And the bottom of that barn is covered in sawdust, hardwood sawdust. And then they basically have this trench where they have sort of a compressed hardwood core on it. They light it, cover it with the sawdust, and that, as it burns in, it smolders and creates a whole lot of smoke inside of that barn. And they do it in a much shorter time than Latakia. It's only for a few days that they let it smoke. But it takes on a different sort of characteristic in that hardwood smoke that is sort of smoldering in that sawdust. It's a really interesting process, very delicate, very. There are some times that they say that the barn lights on fire, and they said that it's prone to creating mold or disease, or there's a lot of factors in it that make it a very delicate curing process. So there's a number of different videos on YouTube that show the process, and it's really fascinating how they do it. But I would urge you, if you are into blending and you're enjoying this series on the blending components, to order a small amount of dark-fired Kentucky and give it a try. See what you think of the smell, and maybe come up with some simple recipes that you might play around with. Maybe creating a simple English blend. Instead of Latakia, you use Kentucky. Maybe you want to create your own version of St. Bruno. You can really try any type of combination. Be careful with nicotine if you blend with Burleys or with Perique. That would be my one caveat, or the first caveat. My second caveat: don't go over 10% on your blends unless you want just the flavor of Kentucky. So I hope that you enjoyed this discussion. If you have thoughts or recipes or ideas or complaints, leave me a comment below, or you can shoot me an email at westtexpiper@gmail.com, and I'd love to talk with you about it. As always, I hope that you have a blessed day. I hope that you had a very Merry Christmas and that you'll have a Happy New Year, and we'll see you again real soon. Thank you for visiting me today. Bye-bye.